Both Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations were met with wonderful praise from fans and critics, so logically the next step for the franchise would be to continue that streak, right? Well, Sonic Team thought otherwise and completely changed the formula of gameplay that we've been accustomed to since Sonic Unleashed. I guess they thought people would eventually get sick of the boost gameplay, which one quick YouTube search would confirm that's true, but this change was so abrupt that I personally had no idea how to feel before the game's release. Nevertheless, change can be good, so did Sonic Team succeed in making another good game, or fail and make a mediocre one? Let's start with the plot to find out, shall we? Sonic Lost World begins with Sonic and Tails chasing Dr. Eggman, who is up to no good once again. In a failed attempt to stop Eggman, he gains the upper hand, having Sonic and Tails crash land onto a planet known as the Lost Hex. It's here where we are introduced to the Deadly Six, a group of nefarious Zeti that are just as pathetic as their name, but we'll get into that later. Turns out Eggman has been controlling the Deadly Six as a means to get rid of Sonic. Meanwhile, he attempts to steal the planet's energy to power up his badniks. And before you know it, that quickly backfires on Eggman as Sonic destroys the tool used to control the Zeti and they begin running amok to get revenge. After escaping the Zeti's attack, Sonic and Eggman begin bickering before ultimately deciding to form a short-term alliance. Together they will defeat the Deadly Six and prevent them from using Eggman's machinery to destroy Earth. On the journey, Tails gets kidnapped due to Sonic being an impulsive dumbass, but that does give him a boost of motivation to put an end to the Zeti's plan. And Eggman even saves Sonic to make that happen, dying in the process. With no assistance left, Sonic is able to stop the Deadly Six, ensuring that the day will be saved. But turns out Eggman didn't die and comes back for one final battle. Eggman goes out like a bitch, and the day is finally saved, allowing Sonic to take a nap for a job well done. To be quite honest, I really enjoy the pacing of the story. After every level or so, we are greeted with a cutscene, giving us a nice mix of story and gameplay. However, each cutscene is largely lacking in that classic Sonic charm that we are accustomed to. The game takes a very melodramatic approach to the story that feels very off-putting for a Sonic game. With the exception of Dr. Eggman, all of the returning characters feel very out of character. For example, Sonic was never the brightest crayon in the box, but he's a straight up moron in this game, being the cause of most of the issues in the story. And Tails is even worse, being a narcissistic nerd with his head too far up his ass to stay focused. I'm not gonna lie, I really could not stand Tails in this game. If he wasn't sucking himself off boasting about how smart he is, Tails was giving attitude towards Sonic or Dr. Eggman for absolutely no reason. Like bro, chill, you're not Rick Sanchez, stop being an arrogant asshole. And while Tails is the worst offender as far as being an asshole, everyone in this game is a complete jerk.
Move it or lose it, Snow Cone!
The last time we met, you ruined my nail art. Now I have to reapply a whole new coat.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? I am so sorry.
Oh, well, in that case...
Oh no, what I meant to say is, I'm so sorry that you have nothing more important to do in life.
What happened? Why are all of the characters like this? Not to mention, the Deadly Six are the most boring, one-dimensional antagonists that you can ever find. They have no backstory and just appear out of thin air. Like in the beginning of the game, Sonic and Tails accidentally crash land onto the Lost Hex, and Eggman has somehow managed to brainwash the Zeti by the time we reach the next cutscene, which is bullshit by the way. Then, once they aren't being controlled, their motivation for trying to destroy the planet is to get stronger, but for no other reason than to get stronger. It's like these villains are bored and get a kick out of fucking shit up. Unsurprisingly, after their leader Zavok is defeated, they just up and vanish as fast as they came. The Deadly Six are villains that just wander around with no purpose, and that's just bad writing. Why introduce 6 new villains and fail to develop a single one of them? There's nothing special about any of them. Each one of them is generic to the point that they only have one personality trait, like this dude who's always hungry, or this guy who really needs a good day.
Everything seems so pointless. I gotta go tell the others the bad news. Getting bad news is actually the one thing I enjoy.
The story largely lacks focus, resulting in a very mediocre plot with mediocre characters. Nothing gets developed or explained enough for the audience to care, so things kinda just happen until the day is saved and the game is over. It's sad because I always look for the story of any game to be a large incentive for me completing the game. I want to see my heroes prevail, but nothing happens in this game to keep that incentive alive. Unfortunately, the story isn't the only part of the game that lacks focus. Being an exclusive for the Wii U, Sonic Lost World can only be played with the gamepad, and Sonic's movement speed is drastically slower than normal. By simply moving the analog stick, Sonic will not begin to run, but weirdly jog around until you hold down the run button. Yes, Sonic has a run button. By holding down ZR, Sonic will move at a much faster pace, more like how you would expect, but nowhere close to how fast he was in Generations. I can see how having a run button for Sonic could be very useful and create some very fun levels, but having a run button in general just feels awkward for Sonic, and is something that I could never get used to. Another tweak to Sonic's control is a change in the homing attack. Before, Sonic will lock onto one object or enemy, and pressing the jump button will home in on them to where Sonic can repeat if he's in close enough range. The concept here is the same, but now Sonic can lock onto multiple targets at the same time, or one target for multiple hits. The idea is pretty cool, but the game tends to fuck me over and ruin all of its potential. I've had multiple occurrences when I needed Sonic to lock onto a few targets, but he would only lock onto one. Or, sometimes a lock-on feature would never show up, usually causing me to lose my rings, or even a life, and that was frustrating as hell. Sonic also has a few other moves in his arsenal, but they aren't used as often. There's an alternate version of the homing attack that has Sonic kick the enemy, usually stunning them. The maneuver works fine, but it isn't mandatory until the later half of the game, so whatever. But personally, I was really excited to find out that the spin dash is back, but it sucks, so I never used it. New to Sonic's arsenal is the wall running maneuver. I think the wall running maneuver is really cool. It's never mandatory, but it allows Sonic to take shortcuts by running along two parallel walls, which is largely complemented by the game's level design. On a positive note, I am a fan of the level design. Sonic Lost World is divided up into 7 worlds, with each world having 4 stages. For the most part, I actually really enjoy how the levels were constructed. Each level was designed in a way that heavily encourages exploration and rewards you for doing so with extra rings and extra lives. There are also loads of different pathways leading to a variety of different ways to complete most levels. Do you want to attempt wall running across a stage? Or do you want to use a wisp to get past an obstacle? Or maybe you just want to run around it. The choice is always yours, and I really appreciate that aspect of the game. But earlier when I said the story isn't the only part of the game that lacks focus, I was referring to the level design. Sonic Lost World will have Sonic doing all types of crazy shit, like slicing fruit, and skydiving, or even rolling down the level as a giant snowball. Not to say that these levels are bad, but they feel so out of place in a Sonic game. The game largely doesn't know its own identity, making a lot of the levels feel like an experiment instead of a well thought out idea. At the very end of the 2nd and 4th stage of each world, the stage ends with a boss fight with one of the Deadly Six. Getting to these boss fights are sometimes really fun and exhilarating, but the actual fight themselves are really bland and easy. But the fights are pretty forgettable, and the so-called Deadly Six go down in like 2 hits, so I guess they aren't all that deadly. I honestly would consider the boss fights to be the low point of the game, but that honor goes to collecting the red rings. The red rings from Sonic Colors are back once again, except now they are a real pain in the ass to collect. As much as I enjoyed the regular level design, just getting to the end of the level, I despised it just as much when I chose to attempt collecting the red rings. Sonic Lost World has made the red rings place in a way that are obnoxiously difficult to obtain, and are filled with numerous do or die moments, to the point that I didn't even bother grabbing them all. If you manage to collect all of them, Super Sonic is unlocked as a reward, which I think is a fair reward for collecting them all, but I couldn't be bothered to do so for this game. Giving credit where credit is due, the game is very consistent with the graphics. The game is very bright and colorful, and all the environments are very beautiful to travel through, and the game runs at a perfect 30 frames per second, making a nice graphical experience. Not to mention that the OST is pretty awesome as well. It isn't my favorite from any Sonic game, but it without a doubt has more hits than misses in my opinion. Especially with the level themes, I think they really hit the mark bringing out the best of the environment with the music. Overall, I don't hate nor love Sonic Lost World. The game is filled with great ideas that without a doubt could have created a very fun experience, but is held down by the numerous amount of choices that make the game feel unfinished. After I finished the game, there was never a point where I considered revisiting a level or a boss fight. Likewise, I never had any issues with the game to the point where I wanted to rage quit. For me, this game kinda just exists in a limbo state between good and bad, and seeing how that is the case, I can only recommend this game to people who are Sonic enthusiasts that may find some joy in this game. For everyone else, why bother when there's better out there?